Ian Foster with CenterCam here. We have the new V2 firmware update and V2 camera, and I wanted to show you its operations. In the only way to actually compare with other mainstream webcams, which is a head-to-head. The lighting scenarios and just little things change from hour to hour in our offices, and so the only real way to compare what the lighting is actually doing is to do what we're doing here, just show it in real time. So what we have is we have a center cam right here. We have a Logitech C920 right below the center cam. We have a MacBook right there, and then we have a generic webcam that actually does pretty darn good. I got it on like super clearance at Staples for $30 or something like that. It might have been 25. So anyway, but they all do certain things really well. And so I wanted to show the head to head. Now, the most obvious difference is the angle. The MacBook is showing my chin, which I have a bunch of face fur right now, and it's wintertime. And then the other screen edge webcams are shining down on my head. My hairline, it doesn't seem to be receding too hard or fast, but just a matter of time for a man of my age. That being said, the bird's eye view just isn't a great view, and the center cam is right where a camera input should be, which is right on eye level. So that's noticeable right off the bat. This isn't a great lighting scenario. It's overhead bluish white light, and then the walls are tan. So the camera's having to figure out both auto exposure and auto white balance, and it's having to make those adjustments. And I'm a olive complected person, and this time of year, I'm getting more to the pink side of olive shades. And so there's just a lot of different stuff going on. So here we go. This is just, normal lighting scenario head to head. I wanted to show you what happens when we have indirect light. This is just a single warm light bulb shining at the wall. I wanted you to see that. And then notice I get a little bit redder up here. Now let's go to direct light. So you notice this creates a big shadow on this side of my face, a lot more reddish of a hue over here. Center cam seems to be keeping up with it. Again, this is a bright light bulb shining right on my face right now. Logitech, I'm going to adjust the angle just a little bit. Logitech is, now that it's directly on me, you can see it's struggling to keep up with the light. And then the Facebook camera, I'm look like I have more of a fake tan than I did before. I don't have a fake tan. Anyway, I look a little more orange. So we're gonna put that back on. That isn't really a scenario you should be in. You shouldn't be shining direct light in your face. So we go back to this one. This isn't a great scenario either. Now I'm going to show you something else. We're going to turn the overhead lights off, and I'm going to show you what happens in darkness. Now, why would we want to show this? We're just showcasing the different cameras' capabilities. What's really interesting is that this little cheap camera from Staples, look at that. It outperforms everybody. I'm not sure why. Now, the quality of it, you can see it's kind of lagging a little bit. It's really struggling to keep up with it from a processing standpoint, with the movement that I'm making. But the auto lighting is better than everybody. So that's interesting. It's noteworthy. Let's put some indirect light on the subject. You wouldn't normally be in a fully dark scenario. It's kind of a weird scenario, but we really wanted to just showcase what these different cameras can do. So this is a much better scenario. It's soft, warm, indirect light. You can see the generic camera that just did the best out of everybody in the dark. I'm still like a much more reddish hue, plus I'm burnt, I'm kind of washed out on this side. Center cam does really well. FaceTime camera does okay. There's a lot of digital noise or pixelation you can see. And there's also kind of a sepia filter on the FaceTime camera. My walls are tan, and so I think it's kind of getting short-circuited a little bit, and so it's putting kind of like a tannish hue on everything. But the coloring of my skin's okay. It's fairly uh, accurate to what's real life Ian. And then the Logitech C920 is up here, and so and it's struggling a little bit. It's pretty true to what my color is, but it's just darker, which is reflective of where we're at. I'm in a dark room with like one little light shining. What happens if we do direct light on my face in this scenario? Ooh. So center cam, I create kind of a heavenly visitation scenario, and the generic camera doesn't really keep up with it very well. The FaceTime camera actually does really well. I have a bright light shining right in my face. Logitech does a little bit better than center cam in that scenario. It's a weird scenario. You wouldn't normally want to just shine a light bright in your face unless you're like, in a police interrogation room, and, we'll help you set up your center cam police interrogators. But you can see, the different cameras perform slightly differently in all of these scenarios. I wanted to show you one more scenario. I'm going to turn this light off. We go back to dark room. You can't really see me. If I lean forward, you can kind of see the neck underneath my beard and the FaceTime camera. But look what happens when we bring up a white window. So what I've done, like that extra window you have in Mac and PC that has like your settings menu or apps in Mac, it's just a separate window you can bring up. It's white in color. I brought it up into the main screen, and now all of a sudden it's enough light that three of the, and even Logitech there, if we get that high enough, you can kind of start to see me. So center cam does pretty well in that scenario. It's a really weird scenario. But for you gamers out there that are using center cam, this is what you're going to get in the pitch dark when you're doing your deeds in the dark. In a dark room. You have to have some sort of white light scenario, but you see the generic camera up here struggles with that. FaceTime does pretty good. It's a lot of digital noise still, but it's all right. Center cam does pretty good. There's another scenario in the dark. Center cam has a product that we sell it with our deluxe packages. It's of course I lost the cord here. It's a video conference light that's on, I believe, its lowest. That's its lowest setting. So that's its second step up. You can see what happens. This generic camera, I'm already blown out, and the FaceTime camera does pretty good. Logitech looks just like what it is. It's a dude in a dark room. But look what happens with, especially with the center cam and the Logitech cameras as I brighten it up. Like center cam actually looks really good right now. I look like I have a nice Hawaii tan, and and the lighting's good. There's no real shadowing or anything. Look what happens one bump up. I'm like broad daylight in the sun. FaceTime camera is adjusting pretty well. Center cam is starting to get into the blown out zone. Logitech is still pretty dark. Again, that's one more click up. And we're starting to get blown out with center cam, but Logitech is barely catching up in this scenario. Now we're blown out. I wouldn't want a video conference like that. That's about as bright as I'd want to be on a video conference with center cam here. But look at how long it takes for Logitech to catch up light-wise to a lighting that I'm comfortable with. Right about there. Now it's still really dark. And you can see center cam plus generic are all blown out. FaceTime camera's doing okay. So this is an artificial light comparison. So there's a bunch of different scenarios, a bunch of different light, a bunch of different temperature settings that we can try. In fact, let me see if that does anything. If I change the temperature. Yeah, so it changed a little bit if I go to a more natural light. What would you call that? Temperature? With the video conference light. Anyway, that's the head-to-head in all those different scenarios. You can see center cam works really well in a lot of different scenarios. But that being said, it doesn't work in every single scenario. There are scenarios where this generic camera beats us all. There's also scenarios where the FaceTime camera does pretty good. Like right now, um, Logitech is a little bit too dark. Center cam is a little bit bright, and then the FaceTime camera coloring wise and light wise, it does okay. The thing is, there's a lot of digital noise. As I get closer, just so you can see that, the center cam is very crisp, and my FaceTime camera is not. There's a lot of processing going on for my MacBook to do what it's doing. So anyway, we're gonna do the daytime color test tomorrow. Same kind of thing, head to head with a couple of major manufacturers and a generic one, just so you can see how the different ones handle light. Of note, and most importantly, then quality and appearance and auto lighting and auto white balance capabilities of the new version 2 V2 that we're launching. It has to do with center cam being in the right place. The Logitech, the generic, and the FaceTime camera, they're all in the wrong places. Center cam's right here. It allows you to look naturally at the screen where you want to, where everybody does look anyway. People don't naturally look up there. You have to train yourself to look there, and then you give everything up here. You give away your notes, you give away the people you're talking to, whatever, the lesson you're teaching or receiving, you give that up to try to appear like you're looking at somebody and present yourself well. Center cam allows you, the camera input to be where it should be naturally. It should be about eye level. That allows you to just do your work naturally and not even think about it. The other cameras, regardless of quality, they can't do that. Part 2 of this head-to-head test. So we have a generic webcam I got at Staples. We have the center cam right here in the upper right. We have a C920 made by Logitech in the lower right. And then we have FaceTime camera made by a company. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, Apple computers. Anyway, so this is a scenario. We've got indirect but bright daylight coming in from the side. For a lot of webcams, it's a difficult scenario, and it does require webcams to make auto adjustments. So you can see the generic camera's struggling with that. Center cam's doing okay. This side of my face is a little bit darker, but you can still see the detail in the windows over here. Logitech, my general coloring, there isn't like a dark side of the face on me, but it's not getting the detail in the window over there. And then FaceTime camera, it's got this kind of like weird sepia filter based on my office. We saw that yesterday in the artificial light demonstration. But I've got no overhead light. It's only the daylight coming from the left side, just so you can see the performance there. I'm going to open the blinds so it's a lot brighter. And I'm going to open it so that sun can actually hit my face. And I've got kind of a tree in the yard, so it's not going to be like super direct, but it'll give the idea. So now with that scenario, the generic webcam, this side of my face is pretty washed out. Center cam is fairly representative of what this is. I mean, a lot of light over here, but this side of my face isn't in shadow. Logitech's doing having a little bit harder time. My wrinkles are a little more accentuated than I would like. Where's a softening filter? And then the FaceTime camera, a lot of shadow over here to compensate for the light coming in from the side. Now, direct sunlight on your face in a video conference is a really difficult scenario, and we don't recommend that people get themselves into that scenario. At a minimum, have some blinds you can close down if you have direct daylight in your office. Again, backlight, in any sort of direct light is going to be difficult no matter what, your webcam is. Is this passable? That has to do with your standards. So if I lean forward, give you a close-up, you can see this is a lot of light in my background, but not on my face. Generic webcam, there's still a little bit of light getting on my head, and I'm still kind of blown out. Center cam, fairly representative, I think. Logitech seems like it's a little bit darker, and I'm also right here. You can see that. I'm not thinking. I'm actually thinking really hard right now, but you can see that light spot right on my forehead. So that's a really good head-to-head indicator of the performance of each of our cameras. And then the FaceTime camera, if I lean this far forward, you just see a lot more chin than I would want anybody to see. But coloring's okay. You can see as I turn my head, there is a pretty bright spot there across all cameras. So those are some things. I'm going to see if I can change this so the sun is a little bit too far along to be able to do a backlighting scenario. I guess I can go like this. Go like this. Oh, I got it. This is going to be part 3. I need to do a backlighting scenario. But I got to change everything, and I won't require your patience for that. Okay. Part 3. Backlight. What do we do? Direct sunlight in the back. The afternoon is waning. So that's the actual sun. This is my backlighting. Anyway, so remember, this is a generic webcam I got at Staples, showing a lot of the screen. Thank goodness my office isn't very messy. We got center cam here. Lighting appears to be okay. I'm struggling with the framing because I'm working directly off my laptop now to create this angle. This isn't my workstation, and my laptop keeps on wanting to clamshell one way or the other because of the sheer volume of weight on the laptop. It's not used to that. Anyway, this is Logitech, and then this is our MacBook. So this is what you're going to experience with backlighting. Fairly self-explanatory. If I shade the Logitech a little bit, all of a sudden we get a little more natural picture. But the lighting, it's struggling with that backlighting. Let's see what happens. In center cam, you don't really see a change. Let's see. It's generic webcam. Yeah, you don't really see a change. I'm just going to pick this sucker up. See what happens when you have direct sunlight in there. You start to see, as we get the lenses to see direct sun rays, you can see the MacBook. That's actually a really pretty picture from a sun ray perspective. That's really neat. But it's not what you want in your video conference. And I've done this test before with all of the cameras. You can create sun rays in all of them. All of them do that at some point. Sometimes the Logitech, for whatever reason, it needs to reset. And in fairness to Logitech, they make some great products. There's a potential that I have an older model and they've upgraded firmware, or I need to update the firmware. So this certainly is not. There we go. There's some sun rays with center cam. So if you have direct sunlight coming into the lens, there's just certain things that are going to happen. And, argue with science if you have a problem with that. Argue with the natural state that we're in on this planet. Anyway, that's what you can experience. That's the head-to-head. Generic, center cam, Logitech, MacBook. That's how they all perform with their native firmwares. Of note, all of this can change with aftermarket software. This is for those of us that just want to plug and play, don't want to think about it. We want to spend the least amount of time possible on a computer. Now that being said, most of the folks that want a center cam, that's not us. Like we want to look our best. We're spending a little bit more time in our online space, and we want to look our best. So to look our best based on our offices, there's just zero chance that one product is going to work for every person on the planet. CenterCam gets pretty close. That being said, aftermarket softwares are great. There's a bunch that you can buy in the app stores, or we have some free ones on our website that allow you to dial in the brightness, hue, saturation. They allow you to make minute adjustments that will take your picture quality to the next level, especially if you have some difficult conditions such as this. This is what we're releasing to the world shortly.